And we're back from watching Luca.
Woo woo woo!
Luca,
Tanto
Luca.
pecorino.
All right, Andrew. Was it gay or was it not?
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Oh, I have so many
You
thoughts on
said
that
you
question.
can't
I
take
will
it back.
say it merited inclusion in the pod for sure.
Of
Like it
course.
was so tender, but also like there's clearly a large following that believe it's gay, and also like I see the metaphor. Um, but I also see how that metaphor could be applied to really. It's funny. I was looking up in the like what the writer set out to write, and it says in quotes that it's sea monster is a metaphor for feeling different. I was like, okay, yeah,
Mm.
I see that. Um, yeah, I liked it a lot.
I feel like you connected with this and realized it was gay because you were crying throughout this movie. And I'm not saying that you only cry at gay media, but I saw you like sniffling and being touched, and I was like, he's connecting to it. He knows.
I truly, yeah, I was definitely absorbing this through the lens of like, if I were to see this as a gay metaphor, and then every time, it's like there was some moment where that, gosh, what really made me cry, or what, the first time where I was like, oh wait, this just made me cry because I was thinking of it in a gay sense.
Hmm.
What was it?
Was it when like, when Luca's like, sea monster to Alberto and he has to go back into the sea, or was it earlier in the
No, it
movie?
was way before that, I think.
Way
Yeah, it
before
was
that?
way before that. It
Okay.
was like a simple moment. I should have written it down
Was
where
it when he came out of the water for the first time?
that moment certainly had vibes of like,
That's one of my favorite moments.
yeah, because I actually said when we were watching it, I was like, I wish I had had a mentor like this, a gay mentor to like walk me through it, especially because he's like, oh my God, this is bad. We shouldn't be doing this, even though what they're doing is like harmless and not bad. And
Yeah.
um, it's so funny because I read up the writer. I want to throw some love on the writers: Mike Jones, Jesse Andrews, Enrico Casarosa, and Simon Stephenson. I mean, I love this movie. Great writers, so great job, writers. And they they did not intend for this to be a gay movie at all when they wrote it. That's what they say. They're like, it was supposed to be a story about like friendship pre-romance, and and they're like, but yeah, we celebrate that fans are seeing it in a gay way. Like, we like the
What do you
diversity inclusion.
What do you mean pre-romance? Like friendship pre, like that
Like,
thing?
yeah, like like when you're, I guess the idea is that like you don't experience true romance before a certain age.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you meant like friendship pre-romance, like we were implying they were gonna be. That was like, okay, that's gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think
that
like
makes sense.
I definitely see it as I think part of the reason why it makes it so much easier to read it as an allegory for being gay is because the way in which they're different isn't at least always like immediately visible, and like
Yeah, that's a
being gay,
really good
like
point.
your sexuality, like that's something that sort of, plays with your head a little bit. Like, do people know, or like, is that something they can tell, or do I say, so I thought that at least just in the way that like part of the metaphor is there, like I'm like, that's what makes me think that there's no way they can't just have been like, we didn't mean for it to be gay. Like it's just too, I guess, too close there.
Okay, so I don't want to. I always love to cause the drama. I feel like I'm such a contrarian, but I do want to say like yeah, stir that pot. I do want to say an important note in that like I think there is a certain danger to falling into this like, oh, if two guys show emotion towards each other, they're gay. I feel like that can feed into this culture we have of like straight men feeling so hesitant to like have vulnerable and like close relationships with their male friends because it's so quickly labeled as gay. And so like if you imagine this is not a gay story, it's really touching to see like, oh, these two friends like having such vulnerability with each other and having these moments. And like romance or not, it really is like a very touching story about friendship and kind of like working through what might hold you back. Like Alberto is wow, I just said that. That's not even how you say it. Alberto.
Alberto.
um yeah, he's learning how to like put aside his like ego and like be an actual friend. Like it's and I did cry a lot, but I feel like I also like can get really emotional about like friendship in general. And yeah, so there was many ways where this reminded me of a gay romance, but like in other ways, and sometimes it made me think like that scene at the end where he was like, like you really helped me out. I'm so glad you were here. Like you've changed. Like that reminded me more so of actually some of my like really close straight friends, like me and my cousin, like we're like this, and so it actually did remind me also of like my platonic friendships a lot.
I think it's really nice. Whether you think it's straight or gay, I think it's a good movie altogether. And I guess
Oh.
I wanted to ask Frank, when we came to you, or when I came to you and I asked like what are sort of like what movies, books, whatever, like that you would want to talk about, like what made you choose this one? Aside from the fact that I was like, we're already doing this.
Yeah. I think this one like resonated with me because I think that especially with like the inner child, like I think so much stuff like starts there, and seeing like this movie like which is at that stage and seeing like how almost like innocent and pure it is, but still being like so queer coded, you know what I mean, in that way. I thought it was like it shows that another side to it, almost like it can, like there are innocent little gay stories like that are, I think are so beautiful. And again, whether or not it's like actually gay and they're like you know what I mean, like, and then it's like on that level, or whether it's just purely platonic, like still I don't think a lot of the time we do see that those many like movies about like a tender relationship between two men, even if it's gay or not, it is still a tender relationship between two men.
It really is, yeah.
So yeah.
I feel like even whether you think this is like a straight movie or not, like as gay people, when we see two men showing emotion to each other, we are really happy, and it's really nice for us to watch. And yes, there are some of us who are toxic and are like gay, but
I did not call y'all toxic.
I'm calling myself toxic, which I own up to.
If I see two men look at each other, gay.
Gay.
I don't know. I don't think it's toxic. I really think that, I don't know, like, think of how often straight people do that. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, oh, like, do you have a girlfriend yet? Or like, whatever, which I guess doesn't like make it better. You know what I mean? But it's just the sort of thing where like, I mean, I knew like very deep down when I was that age of that boy in the movie, I knew that I was gay at that point already, And like, that's why, like maybe if, in a world where like that's so accepted to that level, like you can have little gay, whatever, little childhood, little boyfriends, like, how like people like have their little, first kiss on the playground, whatever. Like, I feel like gay people do not get to do that.
No, exactly. And they should, yeah. It's kind of, it's reminiscent of like that scene in Up where they like, you see the whole course of their relationship. And it starts when they're like probably younger than that. And you're not like, oh, these are just friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that dips into, and listeners, don't you worry, we'll get to Heartstopper. Don't worry, we know what's on the docket. But I've been seeing a lot of media discourse about the show Heartstopper and about how there's like one part of the queer community is watching it and is like loving the warmth of it, but another part of the queer community is like, I can't watch this. This is too happy, and I'm like just now jealous that I never got this in high school.
Frank, are you pointing to yourself? Oh my god.
I refuse to watch it. I can't watch it. I can't watch it right now. I cannot watch it right now. It will send me into, it will, no, it's too much.
But like, this is safer. This is safer.
Yeah, no. It's not because it would hit too close to home, I think. Just like too much. Like, let's not go there.
Wait, speaking of which, just like this not hitting so close to home. It's so funny like reading plot summaries because it does sound like a gay like premise. It's like these two boys spend a lot of time with each other, but they're hiding a secret. They're sea monsters.
Yeah. Yeah, and like they spend an amazing summer together. I looked up, like, the Vanity Fair article literally says sounds like the plot to Call Me by Your Name. Like in the Vanity Fair article.
Yeah. It's also I think it's like in the Wikipedia plot. It's like Luca, a young sea monster boy.
What are they saying about gay people that they chose sea monsters? What does that say about us?
So apparently this didn't come out of nowhere. It's like loosely based off of like some Italian folklore. And they sent the artists to the Italian Rivera to like. Is that why you chose this as Frank? Because it matches your last name.
Oh, Rivera.
Rivera.
The Italian Rivera.
Frank is Luca.
Luca.
I wonder if, hold on, momentary pause. I don't know how to pronounce this name.
This is a good time to pause. There's a siren going on in the background, so you can like wait for that to pass.
Did it go away?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's back. It's back.
It's taunting us. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York.
Welcome
no
to
one
New
opens the door.
I was gonna say, I just recently read this book called Notes on a Crocodile, and it's this Taiwanese fiction book about this girl going through high school and realizing she's lesbian, and there's like chapters of it to where it's like her sort of discovering her sexuality, and then there's this whole other chapter where it's like she does like, it's called Notes on a Crocodile because there's a whole other storyline about this like crocodile masquerading in the world as a human, and how like they feel so uncomfortable, and like they do the whole thing where it's like, oh, I work at this bakery and people don't know I'm a crocodile. People just found out I'm a crocodile. Like, and now people are asking what it's like to be a crocodile. And I'm like, is it just natural to like compare queerness and sexuality and homosexuality to like reptilian beings? Like, is that, I gotta like study more on that because I wonder if that's like a folklore kind of thing.
Yeah. I feel like that reminds me of Carmen Maria Machado. Like, have you read those books, like her books?
That's like In the Dream House, right?
Yes.
I haven't read, but I have.
What you just said reminded me of In the Dream House. So
okay,
that one's like scary because it's like about abuse too. It's like really heavy. Yeah. But
yeah, it dips more into the gay trauma, which I feel like, okay, would we say Luca was bridging on gay trauma? I feel like it kind of was a tiny bit.
As in, like, there are moments in this show where you're like, oh, he's dealing with stuff that we also had to deal with that was like difficult.
Conversion camp.
Oh yes. Okay,
massive conversion therapy,
like,
bro.
Yeah. So when he is like, when they find out he's gone to the surface, so he's giving into his gay desires. The mom says, "You're going through your gay desires now." But yeah, the mom is like, well, so now we're going to send you to live with your uncle in the deep sea, just away from the land. And I was literally like, conversion therapy, like.
Yeah, that was like it's something like that, which is like so I mean, again, like if you're doing the whole like gay reading, like I get the being different, like I understand that, but like the sending away, you know, it's something like that where there's so many factors to it where I'm like, this is either too coincidental or just like too well constructed, you know, to not be about.
Well, there were 4 writers, so maybe one of them. So the guy who said that quote was the director and like came up with the story, but it's very possible that one of the writers was like
had an agenda, and I know, baby.
All right, which of you 4 was it? Who had the gay agenda? Message us on the pod. What I also really like is that his parents are loving people. Like they're not antagonistic. They really care for him, and all of this like so my parents' biggest thing was like they were worried about my safety, and that's like still something they worry about. And so it was really cool to see that mirrored here, where like the mom is so worried about her son's safety, and that's like really the reason that she's um being so strict with him on like being free with himself. Not that my parents like told me like don't come out of the closet, you're like you'll be unsafe, right? They didn't say that. They didn't send me to conversion camp, but I did like that it was born of safety.
Yeah, and I think I like that too, because it's like sometimes, you know, some people they don't, unfortunately, like not everyone either, you know, grew up in a way that like caused them to be accepting of, you know, people being gay, but like a lot, like it's stuff like that that shows like, you know, people change their mind, or you know what I mean? Like it's born out of something else. Like it's like that whole safety thing, but you know, she comes around. And so I thought that that was really like a healing, you know, sort of way in that movie.
Yeah, and just like on that note of like what characters' motivations are, this movie is so well written because it's like, okay, other than the fact that like such a strong goal of the 2 protagonists is to get a Vespa, which seems a little silly, but it's like obviously it's more than just the Vespa. But every time they're like, you know, they say like the characters need to have a clear goal. The fact that their clear goal is a Vespa.
So random, such a random detail.
But it works. It works really well. But in general, it's like all the characters like are very. It's like a very character-driven story, which I really like. Like the plot just writes itself because you like see all the characters' motivations, and it's mwah.
Yeah, I think in that moment, like where it's all happening, where it all comes together, like it was sort of like, oh, this is all like nice and cute and light, and then all of a sudden it's almost like, oh, here the like it adds that like dimension of like, oh, here we go. Like right when you said, Andrew, you were like, oh, the drama, like the drama just it immediately started.
There was so much drama in this. They like love to build up the drama.
I feel like with the character motivation, specifically the character, I think the earliest sense we got of it being kind of like underlying queer tones was when the grandmother lies for Luca about going to the surface. And then we just kind of like, that happens where like Luca's kind of caught being out late and the grandmother's like, oh, I sent him out to get sea cucumbers, that's why he was late. And like they just kind of play along into it. And then it kind of reconnects at the end where the grandmother, we learn she's been going to the surface a lot as well. And she sort of matches the vibe of these other like female sea monsters that are revealed to be masquerading in the real world. And so, yeah, that was another moment of like gay elder watching over a gay prodigy.
Which is such a trope. Like
I love it though. Just side note, when I watched La Victor, the first episode, and it like starts with this conversation that he's having with Simon, and like Simon gives him advice, I started bawling. And I like texted Eric, I was like, I want to be this for someone. So little gay boys, if you're out there and you're not out of the closet or you're worried and you want someone to talk to, hit up Andrew. You can tell Andrew and I will walk you through this. Life is cake.
I have such a hot take on specifically Love Victor in that I think I was just that moment you were talking about where he's like hitting up Simon about advice. I was thinking about it from the POV of Simon and how I was like, Victor's annoying. I would be weirded out by this if Victor was doing this to me. But
yeah, it is a pretty aggressive message.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have to do
never.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to deal with that too, Andrew. I mean, imagine someone texting you and being like, "Oh, well, and you're like, bitch, just pull up."
Pull up.
I'm just like, first of all, calm down.
It's not that deep.
Yeah, so we already talked about like he first goes to the surface and then he comes back and like the grandma has to lie for him. And then they go to him and Alberto end up going to this city to look for a Vespa. You look like you had something to say, Frank.
Yeah, and then they run into Ercole, which I don't know why he gave me homophobe vibes.
And then Andrew during the movie was like, Ercole's voice is hot. When I tell you, this is what Ercole's voice sounds like. He's like, oh, cachelo now. Oh, camafota. You boys. And he's like so loud and shrill.
Stop, you're making me hot and bothered, Eric. Don't use that voice around me.
So loud and shrill. And Andrew, both Frank and I were like, did you say hot?
I don't know. Maybe it's just when he first rolls.
That was so good, Eric.
I meant to be a gay villain. I feel like Ercole underlying homosexuality that he is yet to discover.
He enjoyed watching that one boy slap the other boy too much. He
slap him harder.
Each other. Come on.
Like harder with contempt.
Yeah, he literally said harder.
Literally.
I don't know. I thought his voice was cute. Maybe it's just when he wrote in, he had all that confidence. I don't know. I wasn't expecting him to be so evil.
The Vespa got you.
It's also just really funny, like how often when they're in this city, they twist the knife of like how there's a need to be afraid of like being caught as a fish monster. Just like everywhere in this city, there's like signs of them killing fish and like fish monsters, and that was really fun.
Yeah,
I feel like I was gonna take us away from this.
Like I saw in the Vanity Fair article, it was like, oh, like Julia's conservative town. And when I read that, I was like, wait, it kind of is like a conservative town. Like I didn't really think of it that way, like while I was watching it, but I like now, like I mean, like I guess I didn't make that connection, but like, yeah, like Julia's kind of like the weirdo, quirky girl doesn't fit in, and she befriends the two little gay boys that go to the conservative town.
We love Julia. We love Julia.
Ally.
She's a great friend.
Ally or contender for Luca's love.
Oh yeah, Alberto was randomly getting really jealous when Luca and Julia were like getting really close.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this because I don't see it.
You don't see the jealousy?
Wait, no, you don't see the chemistry?
I don't see the chemistry personally.
Oh, they had chemistry.
Oh, you mean between Luca and Julia?
Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah, they were just friends.
I saw it as they were just friends, and I saw it as Luca was a very curious, geeky, little nerdy gay boy, and Julia had a textbook. And she was like, and a telescope, and she was like, look, this is the sun, like, I'm like, and she was like, look, science, and he was like, oh my god.
She was like, I'm gonna teach this gay person how to read, and then she did. She literally did.
That's exactly, like, that's the love that a gay man has for his English teacher. Like,
yeah, wait.
I don't know, personally. I can see it. I could see the vibe of what you were saying. I just hadn't thought of it that way until you said so. But I want to hear your case, Andrew.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, yeah, they're just friends, but so are Luca and Alberto, right? It's like I could see both of those blossoming into a romance. Like there was something about the way that like she led him. They felt they really had this like moment. It kind of reminded me like this is gonna be so dumb, but like Beast Boy and Tara. Like I was like getting that like vibe.
Fair. I guess, well, Luca, though, whenever he was having those fantasies, he didn't have a fantasy with Julia, but he did have more than one fantasy with Alberto.
Mm,
Like where they were like
yeah.
riding the Vespa and stuff. Like when I saw those, like I resonated with that. I was like, that's what my fantasies look like.
Whoever had the gay agenda wrote those fantasy scenes. Those fantasy scenes were like, yes.
I also want to talk about how, I mean, I'm speaking for myself here. I had a little too much fun when we were watching, whenever, like, there would be moments where, an example is like, sorry, hold for massive truck driving by.
Whoever watches this on YouTube is gonna see like, oh, they deal with this constantly. You don't hear it in the pod because we edit it out, but this is gonna be
True fans
unedited,
now.
unfiltered.
Straight.
True fans are, okay, I think it's gone. I was having a lot of fun with moments like, specifically Luca. This is an example. Luca's like, Alberto, stop, it hurts too much, and like turning it into like a gay thing.
I know. Yeah.
Or like like when Luca calls Alberto a sea monster, and I was like, he just called him the F word.
I literally wrote that down.
It was so silly.
Yeah,
It was like they were giving it to us, you know?
they really were. Like in one of them, like they were riding like, I don't know if it was like the fantasy Vespa or something, and Alberto's like, Luca, you drive. And it's like
or oh, when Luca is coming out of the water and Alberto goes, first time.
no, that whole scene.
Yeah, but like jokes
Yeah.
aside, that part really was. I was like, oh, this is major
Yeah.
like gay
And he was
vibes,
like, breathe, and he was like, and he was like, relax, like, come on. Hello.
I might have to edit this out of the pod because it's not family friendly, but when you called it out, Frank, when Alberto was like, yeah, whenever Bruno like is saying things in my mind, like, don't put that in your mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell him no.
Yeah,
whatever
like,
I want in my mouth.
there was a lot of little things like that a case can be made.
Yeah. So I want to talk about this character dynamic of Alberto because I think it's a really well-written character and really interesting. And I can also see how this could tie into as a gay allegory because Alberto really puts on this facade of knowing everything and being right and having his life together to a fault. Like he's hiding some pretty deep insecurities about how, God, that scene where they reveal the so just to like navigate where we are in the plot. They've been fighting basically because like Luca's starting to realize like Alberto's kind of toxic. Alberto is like always claiming he has the answers when he's like realized the moment when he finds out the stars aren't fish, like, and it's like, oh my God, I can no longer trust everything Alberto says so confidently as fact. It's like a huge mind shift for him. And so they start fighting more. And then that's the moment where he like basically in an effort to like push this girl away, he's like, we're sea monsters, and he like turns into one in front of her. And that's when the moment that Eric's talking about, like where Luca points to Alberto and says sea monster, which also like
so heavy.
Yeah, heavy-handed metaphor. Like
Yeah.
someone on that writers room was trying to make a gay story, and poor little Enrico Casarosa had no idea. He directed it and did not know he was
right under his little nose.
Did not know he was directing a gay film. But yeah, so he swims away and and then Luca chases Alberto and finds him and finds all these tally marks on the wall, and like I knew instantly like
Yeah.
that was how many days since his father had left, and he's just dealing with this trauma. And like that's we're talking about Red Velvet later on in this podcast, but that to talk a lot in that book about how like in experiencing that you like end
Oh,
up
the
wanting...
Velvet Rage?
Yeah, sorry.
Red Velvet.
Velvet Rage. Ooh, nice. That's been on my list.
Sorry, I've been listening to Ice Cream Cake by Red Velvet.
Oh, no worries.
No, it's oh yeah, but it did feel like queer coded to have this character who is dealing with his own trauma and processing that in a way like that needs to look perfect, and is like so desperate for validation from the world, and like that's why he's being really so toxic with Luca. And I was so glad the show covered that, because the movie like acknowledged that, because it's like, oh, this Alberto's cool in a lot of ways, but he's also like kind of annoying because he's like so confident, and so like they really like tackle that in a very sincere way, and you see this very vulnerable moment with Alberto, which I thought was really cool. Frank, you're pondering something.
Yeah, I think like a lot of Alberto's character just reminded me a lot of like that sort of avoidant almost behavior, like obviously like Alberto, he knows he's got all that stuff to deal with, but well, also they're children, so can't like go too deep into the psychoanalysis of this these characters. But yeah, I just thought that was so like he created, like that sort of bravado sort of exterior, but I think Alberto was very afraid,
Yeah.
And that, it was just so, to have that moment of where he reveals himself as a sea monster, and then for Luca to be like, yeah, you're a sea monster, it's sort of like, oh, like, I thought, yeah, the movie was constructed really like deep like that, like kind of like, wow, yeah.
I just loved, I love a movie with a train scene where it's like two characters partying at a train station. Call me by your name, come on, shout it out. And then, so in this one, at the end, when Alberto and Luca are saying goodbye because Luca's going to school, Alberto just goes on, and he's like, he just like, basically, he doesn't say this literally, but he's like, basically they go on and be like, you made me a better person. Like, just remember that I'm always with you, and that like, don't listen to Bruno, listen to me. And like, tears. Alberto's character just like comes full circle in that moment, and it's just, when boys and men recognize their emotion and let themselves feel them, that is some good stuff.
And it comes so honestly too, like the emotion. I feel like sometimes you can feel when a movie's trying to make you feel something, and it's like, I don't feel like they were like playing overtly sad music, or like, I never felt like it was like prompting me like, hey, this is where you should cry. It was really just like honest dialogue that was heartfelt, and it struck me like, like just tears.
Yeah. And then I'm just a sucker for a good running after the train. Oh, that's just so, it's like, that's like, I feel like a romantic little trope, running after the train sort of thing.
Yeah, that last scene, if this wasn't meant to be gay, like somewhat, the animators maybe, like, they're literally like, they almost hold hands. Do they hold it? I think he's like holding his hand as the train like leaves. It's like, I am all for, as I said, like straight men should be able to show each other platonic love. That was not platonic love. That was.
I think they're having gay sex when the train leaves. I think I saw that.
I think so too.
If you look closely.
But they like this frame.
Like we're like forensic on a CSI unit. Like, wait, pause there. Enhance.
There's lube. Sorry, I'll stop.
Are those poppers?
Yeah, there was definitely poppers up in Alberto's little den over there.
I'm gonna have to like edit out so much of this for the audio part. Listeners, enjoy.
He's Alberto's introducing Luca to like the outside world. He's like, fresh air, gravity, poppers.
I mean, didn't Ercole literally pour lube on that guy before he went swimming?
Oil. It was oil, bitch.
It was
That was so.
And
so
you'll know when he's like pouring the oil on him, the guy who's getting all the oil, he looked like he was really enjoying it. I don't know if anyone else clocked that.
It was so strange. I was like, but that's a bold offer.
Yeah.
Speaking of like bold offers, I love just not gay related necessarily, but like the parents just in general were so funny in this. At the moment they came onto land too to look for their son, I was like, oh, this is comedy gold. This is such a good setup. Like,
it was good comic relief.
yeah, they truly became like really campy characters when the mom just kicks all the kids' butt in soccer to get them wet. I was like, this scene is the silliest premise. This mom is going to look for her son by playing soccer with these kids and managing to dunk them all in the fountain. That's like, what? Silly.
It was good.
Yeah, it was really good. I loved it.
I think also the kind of like relationship or like sub relationship that formed between Julia's dad and Alberto was sweet. Like whenever they got back and he's like, where's Alberto? And he's like, he ran away. Like, I don't think he wants anyone to look for him. And the dad's like, well, just in case. Oh, that's so sweet.
Father figure vibes.
Yeah. They really painted him. It's so funny. The first shot of him is like, oh yeah, we're gonna go get dinner with my dad. First shot of him is him cutting a fish in half.
Yeah.
They do such a good job of making him look intimidating. So yeah, I kind of want to talk about like segue into like full circle and kind of like besides the train scene, kind of the ending of this movie. So the cool thing is up until this point, Luca or Alberto's, been really toxic and like not basically been like, hey, Luca, we need to stick with my plan. We need to do it my way, and you need to stay with me. And it's like a really controlling. And then this race happens, and Alberto decides to like come out and help him. Julia, who has cared so much about winning this race, it's her one big goal, like sacrifices her shot at first place to really fulfill what her true goal was to like take out this bully and prevent him from winning. It's just like such character growth moments throughout. And then it's like really shown when Alberto, who's really been pushing this, like, no, we need to do the Vespa, we need to do that, like sells the Vespa to buy admission to the school that Luca wants to go to. It's just like such beautiful character arcs. And then he, as you said, father figure, he ends up staying with Julia's father, and it's like, oh, he finally has a father. I one other thing I want to say about this is like I also think it's a really good lesson that like they really do a good job of making Julia's father seem really intimidating and like someone who you don't think would accept a gay person or a sea monster in this case. But really he's like a really, really great guy, and he's like the first person to stand up for them.
Right.
And I think there's a big lesson in that. Like we can often count people out. Like it's very easy as queer people to like make assumptions about different straight people and how much they'll accept us or not. And I feel like it's a good lesson to like give people more benefit of the doubt. I feel like we have more support than we think.
Yeah, I think that also goes really nicely with what the grandma says right at the end. She's like, in this world, there will be people who won't accept him, and there will be people that will, but it looks like he's good at, finding those who do. I thought that was just so beautiful, like chosen family. There's all of that, wrapped up in there. It was just really touching.
hitting you over the head with the gay
Yeah, I mean, come on, like,
Well,
to a certain point, like, yeah.
it's such a good line. And also, I think there is something like maybe we don't realize how many other people who aren't gay still really experience the same feeling of being othered, being an outsider. Maybe even in ways they can hide, like someone who's secretly like in High School Musical, I love to bake.
Yeah.
So it's cool that this message might resonate even more, like even farther than just with gay people, although it definitely resonated with me specifically on a gay level.
Right.
Such a good line.
Well, girls, it's nearing the end of the hour. What are our final thoughts on Luca?
I can go first. Oh my god, I really loved this movie, and I feel like I knew I would because it was Pixar. I knew I would like it. I knew it would be entertaining. I didn't expect it to hit me on such an emotional level, especially when I went in kind of guarded against it because I was like, "What's this movie taking gay clout?" I cried so much, and it it is interesting because whether it was meant to be gay or not, it's it's really cool that we have this movie that does seem to do a great job of communicating so many lessons that I think are important for the gay community, for people trying to understand the gay community, just about that world in general, and more broadly, like accepting people who are more different from or different than yourself, and realizing that people sometimes have secrets, and dealing with all that. I feel like there's so many good lessons to that, and packaged in this format, I feel like it's really accessible. I would not feel weird like asking a straight person to watch this with me, making them thinking like, oh, I'm making you watch a gay movie. It's like
Right.
this is really a movie that can be enjoyed by so many people. And I think there is a lot of power in that. Because I know for sometimes people do feel weird watching a movie that's so closely related to something that they're not a part of. But also this is a good reminder that like this is about sea monsters. None of us fit in that group, and it's enjoyable to all of us. So just because something's about a group that you're not a part of doesn't mean that it won't still be immensely relatable to you. Oh, they're staring each other down. Who will go next?
I can go.
Okay. Okay. You go.
My final thoughts is I really love this movie. I do whatever people I think like there was obviously gay intention that went into making it on some level. Maybe there wasn't. I mean, I think I will obviously, I can see the side that says, it might be more ambiguous or whatever. But ultimately, I think it's a really nice movie. I think it's a step in the right direction for like, there can be children's movies about gay relationships, like gayness can be a thing that children know about. I knew that I was gay when I was that age,
Mm.
and I think getting, to the point of healing that I have with all, my gay stuff would have been a lot easier if I had had a movie like this that even maybe talked about it more explicitly. You know what I mean? Like there's so many important messages about like sexuality and stuff like that that I don't think like children necessarily need to like shy away from. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be like sexual like that in order for you to still talk about like, who you love, So, yeah.
Yeah.
My final thoughts. There is no way that this is not gay intended. I feel like the CEO of Disney was like, no, don't bring me a gay film. So all the creators were like, yeah, totally, we won't bring you a gay film. Absolutely not. And like the whole process was like, this isn't a gay film. This isn't a gay film. And so like I just don't, and now even like they're asked, like they're getting interviewed about this movie. They're like, no, it's not a gay film, not in the slightest. Like there's just no way that like not like even if it was like they realize it, they were gonna realize it like day one that this was a gay movie. I think anyone can watch this movie and find something to relate to. You don't have to be gay.
Or a sea monster.
Or a sea monster. If you ever feel isolated in your life, you can relate to this. It's so goofy, and because it's goofy, it makes the dramatic moments hit so much harder. And you'll have a great time with Luca.
Finito.
Fine. I'm sorry, they also really hammed up the Italian in it.
I loved it. I loved it.
So hammed up. It was funny to me.
That's cute.
Well, Frank, we end every episode by
Well,
one saying thank
yeah.
you for being on the pod.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so
Or-
much.
This was so nice. Oh my gosh. Like, I loved going through this movie with y'all's gay ass.
Frank, it was such a pleasure talking to you. You have so many insightful things to say. And also, like, I wish y'all could have like heard us watching the movie. He was so fun to watch the movie with. Our
Yeah.
comments were like,
Thank you.
Frank, you know you're my sister. You know I die for you every day. I would take a bullet for you. You know that?
I'll take you up on that soon.
I love you very much. I'm so glad you were here.
Love you. Thank you for having me.
We end every episode by chanting gay over and over again. Do you accept the challenge?
I accept.
Gay!
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 Gay! Gay!
gay, 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 gay.